one. He's got 3 of those. He's got 3 copies of Last Breath. That's the new hotness. 4 Jaces, 3 Elspeths. That's a lot of those.
Yep.
That card is good though. He's got Elixir of Immortality as well. The Andrew Cuneo special. No creatures. If you're looking for Aetherling, you're not going to find that here. And of course, he's blue-white. He's not Esper, so you're not going to find Blood Baron either. And then he's got just a bunch of lands, and among them there are a couple Scry lands, 2 Temple Deceit and 2 Temple of Silences. Not for any splashes or anything like that. Just a Scry. So
Yeah. Before we delve into the red-white deck, I want to say on the record here, the idea of people moving away from a Azorius Charm is nonsense. People cutting that from their deck
you're a
is
hater.
total nonsense.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either.
Anyhow, on the other side of the table, Robb Miknus playing Red White Devotion. He has your setup cards in 4 Burning Tremissary, 4 Ash Zealot, 4 Frostburn Weird, and 4 Boros Reckoner. Those are reasonably powerful cards that are there to also set up the devotion count. And then you have your payoff cards, which are Fanatic of Mogus, Storm Breath Dragon, 2 copies of Perforos, 3 Mizium Mortars, 3 Chain of the Rock, 2 Hammer Perforos, and 1 Chandra Pyromancer. Pyromaster.
So, I mean, the red-white devotion decks, again, they play like combo decks, but they do have a hard time against a card like Supreme Verdict.
I think Joe is a pretty heavy favorite in this matchup. There is nothing that Robb can do, even his most powerful payouts, that Joe cannot simply undo with counter spells, removal, and sweepers, which Joe's deck is basically nothing but. So, I think Joe's draw has to fail in some way, missing land drops or missing some part of his defenses, for Robb to really have an opening. Because otherwise, Robb's deck is just, a pretty inefficient red beatdown deck.
Yeah.
He also, in game 1, has a fair amount of spot removal, 5 cards in his deck, or 6 cards rather, that are essentially dead.
Looks like Joe's going to take a mulligan here, so he's going to start the game at least down 1 card. We'll see how many more. Yeah, but I'm in agreement with you on this one, where I think it is kind of an uphill battle. Now, of course, Joe takes a couple mulligans here, or doesn't have the necessary tools, doesn't find a Supreme Verdict in time. Then I think Robb could steal this one, but I think Robb is the underdog, especially when he is on the draw.
There are a couple powerful tools that Robb has. He can have an unchecked Chandra or an unchecked Hammer of Perforos can give him a lot of staying power, even if Joe starts doing some of his powerful stuff. But Robb's base of creatures is not very efficient against Joe, with the exception of Fanatic of Mogus, which also gives him some range.
So let's see if Joe's able to find a better 6th. I've heard that you mulligan a lot when you have white bordered lands.
That's the thing.
True or false?
It should be a thing. If it's not, that should be the case.
Well, Azorius Guildgate's going to get the show started here for the Azorius Master, Mr. Lossett. See a dissolve there. He's got a syncopate as well. There's a Hallowed Fountain past the turn back, so no interest in keeping syncopate mana open. There's a Frostburn Weird there from Miknus past the turn back. See the set draws a Jace. He's got an island past the turn back here. So some quick back and forth. Nykthos off the top there for Robb, one of the more important cards in his deck, arguably the most important.
Yep. I would argue the most important. It's how the deck goes from 0 to 60. Another weird.
All right, there is Temple Triumph. Take a look, Skipoo. Keep it on top, pass the turn back. Lossett, kind of interesting that he has no interest in countering any of these cards, either Syncopate or anything like that.
I think that he has Supreme Verdict in hand and does not have a 4th land.
Yikes.
So he's happy to let this stuff resolve for the time being.
I guess maybe his thought process is, those Frostburn Weirds will probably only just keep attacking me for 1 point of damage. He actually has to cast more spells, does Miknus, for me to actually care. Divination. Means he'd have to tap out. But again, I don't think that's that big of a deal because there's not some sort of there's not a huge punishment. I guess the biggest punishment is Perforos.
Yep. And still no 4th land.
Wow. What else? Ash Zealots. There's a Nykthos in hand too. Actually, Nykthos is pretty good here because now this is going to allow him to tap for 4, and then the 5th mana will give him Dragon, or he can just pump a bunch. And this is a pretty good play too. I'm not going to extend. I'll put you down to 11.
Yep. Not
It's
willing to
4/5 mana. So okay.
very disciplined here. Not willing to run into the wrath. We see a last breath here from Joe.
So now Miknus is going to go up to 24. So he got 24 to 12 for the life totals. He does lower Miknus lower Nykthos a little bit.
So this turn, for example, I think a play that could be on the table is Ash Zealot and Pump again.
Yeah.
He wants to leave the Stormbreath Dragon back post Wrath as his leftover threat. So things that he can do to advance his board and keep the pressure on, and you're going to see exactly this, while still holding onto the dragon is a really powerful line for him.
Being informed by at Cody_Trafton that the reason that Joe Lossett plays the White Borderlands is actually that's what he started with when he learned how to play Magic.
That's what I started with too. That's no excuse.
Yeah, he uses it for nostalgia
That's
factor.
no excuse.
You have to understand. I talk to Joe a lot of tournaments. Joe's a pretty good friend of mine.
Oh, I like Joe.
A lot. I'm a very big Joe Lossett fan. I could watch him play Miracles all day. Hopefully, I get to see it a couple times today. Tells me I'm not going to give him a hard time.
All right.
About the white border nastiness.
So Joe missing a land drop and discarding. So again, Robb's going to try to figure out some way to, pressure Joe, threaten lethal without using a dragon. He also might be willing to cast a dragon because he has a second one as backup here.
Yeah, which is, I think, acceptable. You can also do this and play around Syncopate, too, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, with a dragon as backup, I like casting this one here. If Joe counters it, then you can dump your mana into the weird.
Okay, dissolve here. Yeah, what he can do now, as you mentioned, he can dump the last 2 mana into weird, making an attack for 5, put Joe down to 1, and then if he does just top deck, if he does, draw a land, cast Supreme Verdict, then you just play the dragon and it's lights out. And Hallowed Fountain, his ironic draw.
The last kick in the teeth for Joe in this game.
Yeah. That's not how I expected game 1 to go. Luckily, that's why they give you 3 of them. So Robb Miknus, I would say he steals game number 1.
Yes.
And now he's a sideboard too, so a good step, a huge step, in the right direction here for the Red-White Devotion player. We're going to bring it back to the booth here really quickly as we're going to give away our full month of premium. And of course, I get the Twitch shirt.
Another Twitch t-shirt.
I'll blow my nose on this one too if you guys want me to.
Yeah.
You just let me know. Again, thanks to Ben Schwartz. Thanks to everybody over at Twitch TV. Check them out on Friday in the financial district of San Fran. We'll be giving away a bunch of these over the course of the weekend. 12 months. He'll fire away the question. Hashtag your answer. Hashtag SCG Premium. Well, that's the conclusion of the finals. So, again, it's about accuracy, not speed, even though you might want to be quick if it's like game 1 win.
Yeah, less than a week away from our final invitational of the 2013 season. You'll be doing commentary, I believe.
I'll be there with Matthias Hunt, Nosip Lebedovich. You'll be slinging?
I'm going to show up.
Okay.
What happens from there, unclear. I won't be doing commentary, but I will be there.
Okay, you're going to be in Vegas. Oh, no. I blew it. Did I actually just blow this?
Okay, so
I blew it.
The question was going to be...
It was going to be, where is the invitational? I am so bad at this. Wow. I apologize. I actually apologize for this. Wow. What do we do now?
That's a great question.
What do we do now? I don't know.
All right, for a full year of premium, what state is Las Vegas in? Hashtag your answer, tweet your answer, hashtag at SCG Live and hashtag SCG Premium. What state is the city of Las Vegas where our invitational next weekend is being held? Name that state.
Yep. By the way, I actually just informed I will not be working the invitation now as I don't have a job after this weekend.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was really, really good. Hashtag your answer SCG Premium. If anyone gets this wrong, they should be embarrassed. We are going to move back to the match.
Our European viewers might...
No. Google it then.
They need to do a little, I'm saying they have to do a little research.
All right. We'll move back to our finals match.
That was a doozy.
Yeah,
that was a real doozy.
That's good. Lossett is going to be on the play here. Take a look at his sideboard first. He's got 3 Celestial Pharaoh, Last Breath, a Negate, 2 Pithing Needle, a Sundering Growth. Of course, the tweets are coming in now. An Aetherly, a Negate, 4 Gate Save, and a Jace Memory Adept. I like a Last Breath. I like Celestial Flares, obviously because of Dragon. negate spells to counter?
Well, Assemble Legion and Boros Charm in the sideboard. Hammer, Porphyros, and Chandra, not a lot. Not a
Okay.
lot is the short answer.
Needle, not great. Sundering Growth, not great. Aetherling, I don't think he needs that to win. I think he can just get the job done with Elspeths. Um, okay, so yeah, I mean, not a ton.
No, not a ton.
Yeah.
Robb actually has a lot of action for this matchup. His hands are kind of tied. He has to some extent because he has 6 close to dead removal spells. Those are easily going to be swapped out for 4 copies of Boros Charm and 2 copies of Assemble Legion. Beyond that, he can have Wear Tear for Detention Sphere, but since there's not really a lot of Pithy Needle stuff going on, I would be surprised if he brought it in just to be removing enchantments. 3 Anger the Gods and 3 War Leaders Helix. The Helix, only, unless he's converting into some weird burn plan, I don't think he's going to touch. Chain of the Rocks, he's already cutting. So I think his sideboarding is probably just as simple as the 4 Boros Charms and 2 Assemble Legions for the 6 removal spells.
Okay. You know, one thing that's nice is when you blow it like I just did a moment ago. If you're ever wondering if people are watching at home and see you blow it, then your phone starts vibrating. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You very rarely get to feel as close to the process as when you mess up.
Oh yeah.
Because then that's when all the feedback rolls
That's
in.
right. I hope nobody's watching.
And then it turns out that everyone is watching.
There is a bevy of people.
You are
my mistake.
You are being made fun of.
That's fine. Not the first time.
Won't be the last.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
You'll be firing away at me at breakfast today.
Yeah.
So that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
I'm sure I'm going to have some really nice voice cracks
Yeah.
on the air today. I'm going to be really good.
Yep. All right, so both players are going to lay out their opening hands here. Again, Joe Lossett, mulligan game 1, got crushed pretty bad. Did not ever find the 4th land drop. So let's see exactly if he's able to keep an opening 7. And again, what we feel like is a pretty good matchup for him. So we are good to go as a Scryland is in play.
And, again, we said as long as Joe's draw doesn't fail, he should be fine. That first game definitely was a failure.
Yeah, his draw just really did not work out at all. He's got an Elspeth in his hand. He just wants lands, honestly.
Yep.
That's all he really wants. He just wants to play a land and do some stuff every turn. His Assault's going to come into play. Attack for 2, put Lossett down to 18.
Joe now with mana, it looks like he has at least 1 Dissolve in his hand, and this is a much better setup for him than what happened in the last game.
You know what's fun is with these Scrylands in Joe's deck, because he has Temple of Silence and Temple of Deceit, they tap for black mana. Obviously, we know he's blue-white control. I wonder how many people sideboarded Mizium Warders against him yesterday.
Oh yeah, I'm
to
sure.
try to beat Blood Baron.
When we caught the tail end of a match of his on camera, I assumed he was Esper.
Sure.
I was like, what's going on with these Mutavaults in this Esper deck? Joe's getting kind of greedy here,
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how many times that ended up happening yesterday, this small edge. I mean, there's a cost because you're playing a couple more coming to play tap lands where blue-white part of the appeal is that you don't have those. His Detention Sphere is going to 2 for 1 of these Ass Zealots, and Joe's going to play in his Warrior Skill Gate and pass. But it'd be a fun question to ask him. This Chandra Pyromancer gets rolled off the top. Hello, ladies.
Now, this is, since the ultimate in Robb's deck, in game 1 doesn't do anything in this matchup, but after board, he has the ability to flip over Boros Charm, which is 12 damage.
That's true. That's true.
Game 1, he only has Mortars to flip over, so the ultimate's actually not threatening at all for Joe, but in the post-board games, it definitely matters.
This card, at some point,
It's really fun also.
it will dominate Standard at some point. It's too good not to. Maybe block him. Nope, that can't dominate block construct to take that back. I'm 14. It has to dominate something. Attention Sphere says, get out of here. That's got to go. It's too powerful.
It is
to just
quite
leave
good.
it play.
It is quite good. And Robb's hand has a lot of reach in it. He's got a Fanatic of Mogus and a Boros Charm.
Is that card better or worse than Koth? Chandra.
I think it is harder to build around, but probably more powerful.
Okay.
Koth you can just have in a random red beatdown deck, and it's just fine as a 4/4 haster. At worst.
You see Frostborn Weird shows up to the table here, and Rob's going to pass the turn back. Does have access to Boros Charm. I was kind of on my hiatus when Koth was a thing, but I remember just thinking that card was going to be absolutely bonkers. Don't know if I've ever really fulfilled its destiny.
That's my 1 standard open win.
All right, all right. You ever ultimate that card a lot, or people just concede before it happens?
Edgar Flores actually played for like 7 turns, like feebly fending off like lethal over and over again.
Okay.
Yeah. So one person conceded, and then Edgar Flores played like the entire game basically with it in play.
Celestial Flare going to take care of that Frostburn Weird, a non-targeted way. I mean, the interesting here is that Flare and Last Breath, they trump Boros Charm. That's actually pretty nice. This Fnatic is going to come down for a 1-point shot if Lossett lets this resolve.
I think that if I was in Robb's seat, I would have probably just passed the turn and try to set up Boros Charm. Like, Joe's played a dual land on tap. He's representing that he has access to counter spells. So I think you need to try to overload his mana in one turn. You can't just be playing into his leftover mana.
Losette's going to slam down an Elspeth here. So he's tapped out, shields are down, and you do see that Robb does have a Stormbreath Dragon in his hand. So the interesting thing now is where's Stormbreath Dragon going to go? Are they going to go towards Elspeth, or is he just going to try to hit him for 4, put him to 7, and put him in double Boros Charm range?
I think with Boros Charm in hand, you have to be going after Joe.
And he's going to go after Elspeth. He disagrees. Now the interesting thing, he drew another dragon, so that's actually really surprising that he did not go after the dragon. But I mean, the thought process here is that dragon hits Elspeth once, then Elspeth can only tick up, and it can't kill the dragon with the minus ability. So I understand the rationale.
Or he's planning on winning with the ultimate.
Sure, that's also a thing that could happen here. Looks like Jace. Yep, Jace shows up. Plus, so that means dragon would be attacking for 3. Other dragon would be attacking for 3 as well, so that'd be a 6-point swing.
He's looking
he's
for
going to go minus. He's going to go show you Jace, Last Breath, and Mutavault. And as good as Last Breath is, and this is, again, something we talked about yesterday, something that we really like about Standard, is that every removal spell has a cost in this format. With Mono Black being big, you can't play Doombait. Ultimate Price obviously has a restriction. Last Breath, as good as that card is, lines up against Nightveil Spectre, Dragon laughs at it for numerous reasons, obviously.
Actually, oddly enough, Last Breath I think is actually pretty good for Joe in this spot, as he can be Last Breathing his own tokens to stay above water. I have lost in this before. That's why I know that this is a thing.
Sure. I have not ever targeted my own creature with Last Breath in my life. Last Breath isn't a card I've really cast a lot. I'll admit that. But yeah, that's one thing that he can do. As Robb is going to quickly draw a card. Fnatic, man, he has a lot of direct damage after sideboard.
Yep. That's the way you have to approach the blue-white matchup or the Esper matchup. It's just really hard to deal 20 damage with your creatures.
So Robb is organizing things here. Does he want to cast a dragon? Does he want to cast a Fnatic, which would be a 3-point hit? Because Fnatic will get probably worse as the game goes. He's got a Nykthos in his hand, but Nykthos isn't going to generate any mana at this point. Does he want to try to play around a counter spell from Joe? Does he want to attack Planeswalkers? He's got some real decisions to make here. You can see he's a little bit unsure of himself.
So he has...
So I like what he's going to do here. So he's going to play another Nykthos and then play Fnatic for 3. I want to see where he's going to redirect Fnatic.
I think he's going to go at, if this resolves, Joe goes to 8, the Stormbreath Dragon hit, knocks him to 4, and then Boros Charm is lethal.
Okay. So Robb, where are we targeting?
Now he does know that Joe has access to Last Breath, so it's not actually lethal just yet, which may be incentive for him to go after the Planeswalkers this turn.
So long as he, of course, knows that interaction.
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of counterintuitive, I would suppose, for you to Last Breath your own creature.
I don't know, it comes up a fair bit, not only with Elspeth, but with your own Mutavaults as well.
Yeah, fair. Yep, Fnatic goes upstairs, so Lossette's going to go down to 8. I think you just go towards Joe with the dagger on. No attack. Wow.
Is he trying to play around Celestial Flare?
Huh.
He can wait to attack next turn, I suppose.
Yeah, with Fnatic and Dragon.
And like another dragon that he can play as well.
Sure. He can fire a Boros Charm at a turn,
right,
and then do this. Okay. A conservative approach, but I think it could honestly be the correct one. This does. No, I guess this doesn't really mess him up with Supreme Verdict either because he has Boros Charm.
Yep. He does have some luxury to play conservatively here. It's just a little rough that Joe has 2 copies of Last Breath, so he can fend off.
Yeah, Joe can get very creative here.
Yeah.
So Jace is going to get cashed in. Let's see what the top three are going to be. A Plains, an Essence Scatter, and an Azorius Gilgate. Essence Scatter, obviously the better of the
Yep.
three cards. So 2 lands are going to go to the bottom. Lossett's got some serious work to do, though.
Yeah, and that's obviously the risk here. You know, Robb played around Celestial Flare last turn, which may or may not be correct, but with Jason play, Joe gets to look at so many cards that it's hard to play around everything.
I think Joe has another Jace in his hand, too, so he can get even deeper into his deck. And this gets really interesting to me as well because, like, with Jace in play, do you want to go up or down with this Jace? And you see he's turned his die to 5. So it looks like he wants to go up. He's going to start at 4, so he may be a little bit unsure of himself.
I think that I like plussing this turn because Joe's mana, when he plays his land, is all accounted for. He has both Essence Scatter and 2 Last Breaths, so it's not like he needs to dig for action this turn. He can wait one more turn. Yep.
So he's going to take it up. He's going to play an island. I like attacking with the soldiers here, too. Like, just to get in damage, because you'll be able to get in 4 this way. Like, yeah, you're going to lose 2 of those guys, so, you know, I think it's whatever, but you're chipping down incrementally, but he's not going to make an attack here.
You could also just Last Breath one of the ones that get blocked, too.
Mm-hmm. But does he want to reveal that trick yet? I know Boros Charm gets cast. Robb takes a draw to Mountain. Nykthos will generate 4 mana. So now that's actually a pretty important land draw because now he can go play the Mountain, activate Nykthos, get 4 mana, 5th mana, use the Mountain, leave up the Temple and the Sacred Foundry to still have access to Boros Charm. So the drawing a land there, well, not perfect, wasn't bad. So now he's going to say attack you for 8. Trigger. And also, there's the Monstrosity activation as well.
Yeah.
Which I actually just completely forgot about.
Well, he doesn't actually have Monstrosity this turn, right? He only has 3 Devotion, so Nykthos is net.
Oh, he has 3 Devotion. Okay.
Yeah,
so I counted it as 4. That's my fault. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah,
yeah,
okay,
it's just it's a basic mountain at this point.
Yep. I take it all back.
And Robb feels like he hasn't taken a decisive path in this game. It feels like his plan from turn to turn is kind of just swapping around.
So the creatures are going to block. The Fanatic damage gets through. Joe is going to Last Breath one of his tokens, which we thought this might happen. So he's going to go up to 9. And because of Essence Scatter, Robb couldn't afford to cast the Dragon. So all of a sudden, this game is getting. It seems like this game's getting away from him.
Well, that's the risk of playing around, trying to play around everything against blue-white, is they just get to look at so many cards from turn to turn that, you know, they can eventually, whatever you are trying to play around, they are eventually going to find it or something worse for you.
Being informed right now that apparently Drew Levin has missed his train to get here on time. Kids.
Lame.
Kids these days.
Yeah, I know.
So it looks like he might have to be an 0-1 start, which, to be fair, that's kind of a good thing to be doing nowadays.
Yep.
You know, Sam Black started started with a loss in Albuquerque, top-8'd. Christian Calcano got to Grand Prix Dallas this weekend in round 6, right before that round started, and made day 2.
Yes.
So he started with 3 buys, went lose, and then won all of his matches to make day 2. So, Drew, you're fine.
Yeah.
Probably a heavy favorite to win.
Right.
Actually.
Congratulations to Drew Levin, our legacy Open champ.
We will actually not be coming back for coverage. Joe going to fire Bermuda Vault and get in with a bunch of soldiers here. As I think he realizes here that it's pretty important to get this game over with. Now, again, I'm kind of interested to see what he's going to do with this Elspeth, because Elspeth's at 3 right now. The minus ability, of course, is 3 to kill that dragon, and then he's got an Essence Scatter of the other dragon. However, Boros Charm actually would save the dragon.
Yes.
And again, the players have access to each other's deck lists, so they know what cards exist on each side, and so Joe knows that Robb has access to that sort of effect.
I really like plussing here, trying to get Robb to lethal. That Last Breath and Essence Scatter in Joe's hand gives him so much insurance against the things that Robb could potentially do here that I like just trying to apply lethal. And now Robb is sort of just forced to go for it, even though it's a fool's errand. Gonna knock Joe to 5.
Drew now letting us know that he also doesn't have half of the deck, to which I say excuses.
So Chase triggers, he's gonna monstrous his Stormbreath Dragon, and I assume this is going to get a last breath out of Joe here.
I'm inclined to agree with you. So what's going to happen here, because that's a smaller dragon, starts at a 4/4, Monstrosity's going to make it into a 7/7.
Correct.
Jace Trigger makes it a 6-power creature.
Yes.
And then if Joe uses the last breath in his hand, he's going to gain 4 life, but he's actually going to gain 5 life, like in a way. So last breath, my own guy, is what Lossett's going to do. He's going to go up to 9. Then Monstrosity resolves. Last card in his hand is Essence Scatter, so take 1, go down to 8. And then Dragon gets in for 6.
Down to 2.
Goes down to 2. And the problem here for the set is I don't think he has a lethal attack. But he can use Elspeth to take care of the dragon. He's got Essence Scatter for the other one. So you see Joe counting. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 tokens plus Mutavault. By my math, that's 9.
Yep.
This is a divination. It's a good place to start.
Check out the action.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how he's going to use Jace this turn. I don't think there's really any value in ticking up at this point.
It is only Ash Sellet
Okay.
where it makes a difference.
Okay. Just drew another Elspeth. Doesn't really have much effect on the game. Needs to keep Essence Scatter up. So I think what he does is he just attacks. What I think I do in this situation if I'm the set is I think I minus Jace.
Yeah, because finding another counter spell has such upside.
None of those cards are too relevant. I think Mutavault's the best of the 3. And then what I think I do here is he's already minus Jace. I think I use Elspeth to kill the dragon. Maybe fire my Mutavault or attack. Maybe don't. Actually, I think I leave my Mutavault back, just because of Ash Sellet.
Yep.
And then I have Essence Scatter covered for a dragon out. Fanatic's not going to kill me in this spot. And you're basically just trying to close all the windows of what he can do to win. Miknus does have access to Boros Charms and War Leader's Helix.
Yeah, if you brought in Helix, which is unlikely, I think.
Yeah, but just direct sources of damage. How's he going to attack here? We've seen Joe play Miracles like a million times, so we know that he's a pretty conservative attacker.
Yeah.
He doesn't... I would be very surprised to see him activate Mutavault, attack all of his creatures, put Robb to 1, and then would die from like a Ash Sellet.
Right.
That would be very surprising, right?
Yeah, in spots like this, Joe definitely takes his time to go through the permutations and outs his opponent has and try to apply maximum pressure without exposing himself randomly to something he doesn't need to.
Yeah. It's got to be frustrating for him that he's a point short.
Yeah.
I think
That's what happens when you last breath your own guys over and over again.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so now he goes down to 1. Elspeth, take down. Dragon gone. 1 creature back on defense. He kept it Attention Spheres, so keep that in mind. As the Mutavault he could have taken. Draw a card. Who is it? Dragon. Counter it. All right, and that's it. Okay, so Essence Scatter's going to get the job done, and we're going to go to a third and final one here between Lossett and Miknus. Blue-White Control, Red-White Devotion.
And I really like the structure of Robb's deck in this matchup gets so much better in the post-board games. Getting to cut the removal for, additional burn spells and potentially Assemble a Legion as well. Although Assemble is, actually, I don't think especially good.
I don't think it's great either.
It's possible I would actually rather have War Leader's Helix the way these games play out.
I don't think that War Leader's Helix is great here. I mean, we're looking at a 4-mana, 4-damage spell, right? That's not efficient at all, but I think it's part of a game plan of just I have to have strange ways to deal damage. Like, direct damage is actually good in this matchup.
Yep. It's really hard to beat the blue-white deck by dealing 20 damage inside of combat, especially against Joe's list, which is playing so many Elspeths. The odds that Joe just has Elspeth on 6 is very high. A lot of blue-white control lists, they have 1, maybe.
Yep.
So, you're not playing against it every game. Against Joe's list, you're going to be playing against it very frequently.
Yep.
And so That makes attacking even harder than it is against blue-white in general. So converting into something of a burn deck, I think, is a much better strategy.
I think that's true. I mean, again, I don't think that Elspeth is a card that you really want to be rocking. Or excuse me, I don't think that Warriors Helix is a card that you really are proud to bring in this matchup. But I think, again, it's more important that it's contributing to a game plan and that you have an overall strategy to try to win the game. And I think that that card can actually contribute to the strategy of just, dink and dunk a little bit with some creatures here, like Frostborn Weird and stuff like that, like we saw in Game 1 and Assault having haste. So it acts like basically like a shock that can turn into dealing 4 damage. And, if you top deck Warriors Helix and Boros Charms and things of that nature, you can close out a game.
Yeah, especially, Joe, eventually to pull ahead in the game, whether it's Jace or Elspeth or what have you, needs to commit mana on his own turn. He can't really sit behind a wall of counter spells for forever, so you're going to have your spots to land burn spells.
If you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan. Star City Games Open Series here in Oakland, not Vegas.
Oaktown.
Yeah, we are in Oaktown, the Golden State. At SCG Live, hashtag SCGOAK. Tell us about all that you guys are doing on this Sunday. Football, magical cards. It's a nice Sunday here in December.
Go Giants.
No, they'll go all right.
Our third and final game of the Standard Open. Robb Miknus playing Red White Devotion will be on the play.
Fun little story here. My friend right now is setting my fantasy football lineup for me. I don't know my password to my team, and he guessed it.
That is pretty awesome.
I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't think that any of my stuff is safe now, but either way, we're getting Jason Campbell in the lineup today, baby. As Temple of Deceit is where Lossett is going to start. Ass Zealot coming across into the red zone.
And if you look at Robb's hand, he has Hammer of Perforos, which, if it resolves and Lossett is without a detention sphere, can make life very hard. Ash Zealot in again.
And this is exactly like, now Ash Zealot just acts as double shock, which is, I think, is like the best you can get from that card. Like, if you get more than 2 with that card, I think you're thrilled. As here's a Hammer of Perforos. And that's going to get a counterspell, right? Syncopate?
Yep.
But I think Ash Zealot has already done its job, and more than that.
Yes. And the more that you're backing it up with Burn, the more the points he's getting in now matters.
At Sheerox, my password is not Goblins123. There's a 4 at the end. Have a little class. This is the Temple of Silence is going to come into play here. All right. So Joe is this feels like a lot like Game 1. But also the thing too is, like, again, you see how good the temples are, but you can also see, like, coming to play tap lands are not great.
They come with a cost.
Yeah. See, Robb has one of his own. He's going to play a Frostborn Weird. He's got a temple. But this game, I think, is going exactly how Robb wants it to go.
I don't know. It depends what's left over in his hand. If his hand's just creatures and lands, it's not too hard for Lossett to just fend this off for forever. If he has burn spells or something like Storm Breath Dragon to top off his curve, then that's obviously much better. I think Robb would feel a lot better if he didn't have to commit that Frostburn Weird to the board, but his hand is just Storm Breath Dragon and Fnatic, so he can't really hold that weird back.
Yeah, it's time to cash in that verdict there. As Brian Kibler is letting everyone know that my password is actually Kithkin456, which he has nailed it with a Storm Breath Dragon coming across into the red zone. So now Joe needs to deal with this. Now there's a verdict off the top. He's got Azorius Guildgate to play, so now he's got to obviously trade with that, 1-for-1 with the verdict. Miknus quickly untapping, slams down Assemble the Legion. So now Lossett needs a detention sphere. I guess Jace is perfectly fine.
Jace is really good against Assemble the Legion as well.
And with Jace ticking up, it'll stay out of Boros Charm range, but you see Lossett has pulled a detention sphere forward in his hand. Is detention sphere actually going to get any better than this?
Yeah, I mean, he has to just be worried about the devotion count in general because of Fnatic.
Yep.
So every permanent, even non-threatening ones, are threatening in their own way.
Another Assemble. So he had an answer to the first one, but a top-decked one for Miknus gets him back into that same situation. Lossett draws, and Azorius Guildgate. Now he's back on the Jace plan of having to deal with Assemble. But now, well, I take that back. So this is going to be interesting, because this is something I was going to bring up during the sideboard, is Which actually wins in the token generating fight? Like, obviously, Assemble is
Elspeth.
really good, but I feel like Elspeth wins in this, like, oh, you want to make a bunch of tokens, huh? I can keep up with your Assemble the Legion. I arguably am faster than your Assemble the Legion
Elspeth
because of
wins
the
by
ultimate.
Elspeth wins by a lot.
Yeah. And so now Boros Charm might have to go towards Elspeth.
Or, oh, that's a huge draw. Yeah, a second Boros Charm. He can land Fnatic of Mogus this turn for 2 damage, and then he has lethal left over in his hand.
Attack 4. Okay, they're going to get the right token out there, the red-white one.
That is a huge draw.
That was a really good draw. Wow. Again, you can see why the direct damage plan is so good in this matchup. If that had been a Warriors Helix, it would have been similarly good.
Yeah, and these Helix definitely would have been better than Assemble in this game as well.
So how does he want to pace this? Because he has the magical combination at this point to try to win this game. And there is Fnatic, so it's going to be for 2.
Yeah, I like that. I like starting here. It's the most mana. You know that Joe has Essence Scatter, so resolve your creatures first, and he can play, his creatures at instant speed to try to set this up. Eventually, Joe will tap out or low potentially. You can land those Boros Charms.
That was a big draw there from the set. He drew himself a dissolve for the turn, and you see he's working his way up now with Elspeth. So I mean, what Joe's trying to do here is basically just he wants to make it so that he can get to Elspeth up to 7. He'll have 9 tokens in play, ultimate it, and then 9 times 3 is 27, and it's lethal all in one turn. So now Jace is going to show up. He's got Mutavault and Double Blue open for Dissolve. He's going to tick up Jace, and he's just playing defense, and he's just going to leave Dissolve. He's definitely going to leave Dissolve like the whole game. So now Assemble's going to go up to 2. 2 more soldiers are going to come into play. Robb draws a card. It's a Sacred Foundry, which is the second white source for the double Boros Charm.
Well, in theory, he could also. I guess he doesn't have enough mana. He could make white through his Nikthos, I guess.
That's true. So it's going to come to play untapped. And yeah, he's going to fire away. He says, Boros Charm you. And Joe going to counter the first one? Or do you counter the second one?
I think. I don't know. You may want to just counter the first one because there's a possibility that Robb just, with the amount that Joe's thinking, if Joe lets this resolve, we'll just not cast the second one.
Yeah.
Make him sit on his mana for a little bit longer.
This is interesting because I kind of like counting the second one. I'll tell you why. Because if the first one resolves, all right, I go down to 4. And then maybe he'll fire up the second one. We're not sure, but we can leave Dissolve Man up the entire time. If you counter the first one, the second one's probably going to go towards your Elspeth. There's a chance of that. And I would rather my Elspeth plan still stay intact of up to 7, kill you. But I guess if that happens, then you're just at 8. And your Elspeth doesn't die, so maybe that's better for you.
Yeah, I think if it's close, all other things being equal, it's really valuable for Joe right now to scry. So just cast the card when you know you have an opportunity to cast it.
Okay.
If that was canceled in his hand, maybe what you're saying is true.
Okay.
But I think the upside of ensuring that you scry right now is too high.
That was a detention sphere off the top there for Lossett. One thing also to keep in mind on Robb's end is Robb kind of gave away that he has double Boros Charm in his hand because he slams down Sacred Foundry untapped and then casts the Boros Charm. So it's like, well, why would you slam that down? You already have the white mana to cast it. Oh, you probably have another Boros Charm. And I think that's why Joe took a second to consider everything before making a decision to counter it.
Yeah, Robb gave away a little bit of information there with the way that he set up that turn.
Elspeth goes up. So now he's got the 9 necessary tokens. I think we're probably going to see Jace go up so that he can't attack Elspeth or do anything profitable with some of the Legion tokens. And Lossett has a detention sphere in his hand. He's also got, I believe, a Div.
Yep.
And a Hallowed Fountain.
So Joe here trying to see if there's any upside to casting Divination, if there's any set of cards he can find that matters, if there's any value to detention sphering, anything that's in play right now.
I think that no is the answer. I'm not positive, but I think that no is the answer.
For example, Divination could find an untapped land and a counter spell, potentially. You can have Detention Sphere take away a little bit of his devotion count if there's some mixture of cards you're worried about, but both of these plays are kind of on the margins. Uh, nothing that Robb has in play is terribly threatening, nor is it likely that Divination finds something that matters. That said, you have to use your mana on doing something because the game's going to be over in a turn.
2.
Found an untapped land and another land.
Yeah.
So
just only relevant card is going to now is Attention Sphere.
right.
Jace goes up, as we thought it would. Lossett can bluff some things here. One of the things that he cannot bluff in the situation, however, is Celestial Flare. But I don't think there's anything that kills him in this situation that involves attacking. So, Assemble the Legion token is going to come in. Robb draws a Mountain. And now he's priced into Boros Charming that Elspeth or he dies.
Yep. In the sleeper.
Yep. Not the first time we've cut into a Joe Lossett match with Elspeth Jason. You see Robb is reorganizing mana so that he can cast Boros Charm, and it's got to go towards the Planeswalker. He doesn't have a choice. And so now what he can attempt to do, Robb, is he can attempt to win the token race with Assemble, since it's going to keep ticking up, and now it's getting in a range where it's actually creating, I believe, more tokens than what Joe can make. But the problem here is that the Attention Sphere blows that entire strategy up.
As does Jace.
Yeah.
Jace is another reason why I'm dubious of bringing in Assemble the Legion.
Sure. A lot of ways to invalidate it.
Yeah. Elspeth is great against it. Jace is insane. Detention Sphere is insane.
Anyone else think it's ridiculous that Elspeth is good against Assemble the Legion? It just makes so many tokens.
From a flavor standpoint?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I'm assembling all these guys. Elspeth's like, well, so am I, and I'm better at it than you, so kindly leave.
Over an infinite timeline, Assemble makes more, but the games are rarely played over an infinite timeline.
No. So Joe uses the Detention Sphere. He's going to take care of Assemble the Legion. He hasn't used his Planeswalkers yet. And he hasn't used his Jace yet. He hasn't used his Jace, which I think is the more important one. Does he want to go up? Does he want to go down?
I think he's going to keep going up because there's so many tokens in play. Robb has a reasonable number of haste cards in his deck, and he's actually getting close to ultimating Jace as well.
Okay. There's the other side of it too, where he is very open to a top deck right now because he has nothing in his hand. So like a Stormbreath Dragon is at wow. Okay. So he's just going to trade off a bunch of tokens. I actually kind of like this.
I think he might be trying to go ultimate with Jace. I think he's going to be plussing Jace for a little bit longer here and then going ultimate.
Okay. Maybe get a Stormbreath Dragon from Robb's deck.
Right. Well, that's a big incentive for him to try to clear out the tokens that Robb has access to, because if he does go ultimate with Jace, there's at least a one-turn window where those tokens matter.
This is also an incentive, too, with this attack, because now he can minus Jace safely because there are no tokens in play.
Sure.
Which I actually like this a lot. Now he's going to turn over a Last Breath ×2 and an island, so now he's at a comfortable 12. Because he can Last Breath his own token, which we saw plenty of times in game number 2. So actually, I think that attack is quite good. Maybe I don't think the block there is necessarily bad from Robb. I think it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Because if he doesn't block, he takes, he blocks with the Fanatic, obviously, and he takes a bunch of damage. And then Joe just goes, all right, take up Jace, go. Are you going to keep letting me get in all this damage? Is Frostburn worth the draw here for Miknus?
Yeah, it's really hard to imagine those tokens getting to do anything else productive other than what just happened there if you're in Robb's seat. Because you know that he can just plus Jace.
Yeah. Lossett going to take a draw step. It's a Plains. Right now, the only card of relevance in hand is the Last Breath. Jace going to take on down. We're going to show you an Essence Scatter. We'll show you another Jace. And we're going to show you a Syncopate. And now things are starting to get away from the Red-White Devotion player.
Yeah. Joe is really establishing a firm control on this one.
The one thing I always think about when I think about Jace is how this one is, when this card got spoiled, released, what have you, the power level was undeniable, but it also, it kind of followed the same path that Jace the Mind Sculptor did, in which that card was released. Everyone's like, this card's great, but it's just not its time right now. That Pro Tour in San Diego, Luis Scarvargas went 16-0. He played a Naya deck, and Jace was trying to establish his footing there. Chapin and the rest of the people he worked with came up with the Mind Spring Marshall Coup deck, and that was kind of the first Jace deck, but Jund was the problem.
Right.
Once Jund goes away, Jace got banned.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with this Jace, as Lossett extends the hand, but boy, is that card good, and it takes down another tournament. Blue-white control, Joe Lossett. We think of him as a legacy player, and he's a damn good one of those. This is his second Standard Open win.
Yeah, congratulations to Joe. That was a really a dominating finals. Obviously, went to a third game.